welcome back. So today we're going to do the coolant on the truck. I have a 2001 Ford F-250 Superduty with the 7.3 diesel, and of course it's in that vintage comes with the green coolant. A lot of guys are suggesting to go to the red coolant, which is an 8-year coolant life, and that may vary depending on the brand. The one I have says it's 8 years, good for 8 years. And the nice thing about it doesn't require the Ford coolant additive, the anti-foaming additive or anti-cavitation additive, whatever that stuff does that goes in there. And you have to check it with a chem strip every so often and make sure that there's a proper amount in there. And if not, it can foam up and it can damage you read all that stuff. So the bottom line is I'm going to switch it over to the red today. And I'm going to use Gooch's procedure. He's a coolant guy that's on a lot of the diesel forums, and he's got his own method for how to switch these older trucks over to the newer red coolant. And it requires flushing draining all the green and then flushing it with distilled water and going ahead and installing the red coolant. And while you're at it, it's probably not a bad idea to replace a few items along the way, because you're going to have them open anyway. One is the thermostat. The thermostat housing, I guess, can rust through or get badly corroded. I don't know what mine looks like, but I bought a new one anyway. And I've got a new gasket, and I'll go over what I've got together here, what this guy Gooch recommends and how he recommends to do it. It's a dirty procedure. You're dealing with basically antifreeze coolant that has to be recycled. So we're going to drain it we're going to do just what he says. We're going to drain it into a kiddie pool underneath the truck and change the hoses and do all the stuff according to his web page, or the web page that relates this procedure. And I'm going to post the link to that web page. It's a really good step-by-step with photos and everything on how to do this procedure. But I just thought I'd make a video so you can see what it's like to actually do it. Different approach. Here's the coolant that I bought. This is from Triax Premium Lubricants. It's an all Fleet ELC heavy duty extended life coolant. It says it's good for 8 years or 1,000,000 miles, wow, or 20,000 hours. It's designed for pickups and semis, diesel or gas, and it is the red coolant. So that's what I got. It's available on Amazon. I don't recall what I paid for it, but I'll try to find the link and include it below. Also, I bought the this kit from Prestone. Everybody knows what that is. We've seen those over the years on various of our vehicles. We've installed those. A brand new thermostat, since we're going to have it open. A new thermostat housing, fancy. It's got the bolts, and it did not come with this gasket. I had to order that, so make sure if you order this kit, this is from Swag Performance Off-Road. If you order this kit, they don't give you the gasket, so make sure you order the gasket too. The part number on the thermostat, which if I recall, I believe it came with the thermostat, RT1203, and then there's an F4TZ8575CB. That's a Motorcraft, so that's OEM. Motorcraft hose, this is the lower hose. I'm going to change that. It's been a few years since that's been done. So this is the Motorcraft lower hose KM4542. And there's some other number on there, YC3Z8286CE. This is a Gates. This is the upper hose, and the nice thing about this hose is the one that goes around the serpentine belt, not through it. So if you blew up on the road and you needed to change the hose, you don't have to horse around with the serpentine belt. You can just change the upper hose. So the one they put on the last time when I had my water pump done some years back, like 2-3 years ago, I was on the road, so couldn't do the job myself, so I had to pay Ford to do it. And they put on the one that goes through the damn serpentine belt rather than this one that goes around it. So I'm changing this too. And this is a Gates number 22433. Then Gooch tells us that we need 20 gallons of distilled water at the minimum. So I have 20 gallons of distilled water. I can run for more in my car if I have to, but I think this is going to be adequate. And that's going to be to flush out the engine block. So that's the stuff I have on hand for this procedure, and we're going to get on that real soon. So here's the truck. And I also have coolant filtration that I've put on, so I'm going to change that filter as well. So it's I pretty much do all the maintenance on this truck myself. So here we go. We're going to do the coolant. Okay, so there's a shot of the screen of my laptop computer. That's what the website, when you can, I'll include the link, but that's what it's going to look like, and it's very well done. I mean, he's put pictures up of, there's the Prestone kit, there's you know, all your part numbers, your thermostat housing, lower radiator, upper radiator hose, degas bottle cap, which I just changed recently, a new coolant filter, and any hose clamps you feel should be replaced. So that's the stuff you should need. And then, so job one is to go down here and open up the radiator petcock on the bottom and drain the radiator. So we'll get that done next. Three-quarter inch fits the petcock. And okay, so we're just going to let that go. I'm going to get up and open the degas bottle, and we'll wait for this here to drain out. there's a couple drains on the block that need to be opened, and the point of all of this is to get as much, you know, to get all the green out. I want to get all the green out, not just as much as you can, but all of it. That includes what's in the block, the hoses, the heater core, all that stuff. So we got to get all of the green coolant out of this system. The next step, they say, is to remove the lower radiator hose. So I've got my nut driver. I'm going to take that clamp loose and we'll get that lower hose off. The next thing it says is to remove the block drain plug on the driver's side. So you can see where I am. I'm right next to my oil filter, just behind the oil filter mount where it mounts to the block for the spin-on oil filter. There's this plug right up there. Do you see that? You see this? Get out of the way of my... I have bypass oil filtration. That's what this braided line is. That little plug right there, I can't reach, very good, right there. That's the driver's side cooling jacket drain plug, and they want you to pull that next. Now, it just looks to me like my swimming pool needs to come back a little bit so that we make sure we catch whatever coolant comes out of this plug. And so I can't get a very good job of filming it while I'm taking it out, but you get the idea. That plug's got to come out of there, and the way you get that out of there, you use a quarter drive socket, and I'm going to use an extension. So that's how you get that out of there. I'm going to try this before I monkey with that line. I'm going to try this universal and see if I can get this thing to crack loose. Ah, God. Yep, there it went. I'm right in my light. Right in your light. You can see it's turning. So I just got to figure out where to hook this light. There. I got to get my swimming pool back. I'm afraid if I pull it, it's gonna let fly all over the camera. I'm just gonna kind of, whoa, yeah, well, that Kind of missed the kiddie pool there a little bit at first, but didn't get too much. Just kind of half-assed soaked the camera on my phone, which I'm controlling the camera with my phone, that GoPro app. So there you go. I'm assuming the plug's in the pool, but we knew this job wasn't exactly going to be sterile, so that's the way it goes. Okay, so there's how much comes out of that drain. Okay. So anytime you're dealing with draining stuff, right? Oil, tranny fluid, no matter what, shit goes on the ground. So anyway, we lost maybe, I don't know, half a cup of it onto the driveway, but that's all right. Hose it off. At least we're not dumping the whole works into the soil. So that was that drain plug, and the next one I believe is the second verse, same as the first. There's the same drain plug on the other side, so let's go get that one. Do you see it? It's that plug right there. You see the freeze plug, and then to the left of the freeze plug is the drain plug we're getting at. You see the thing with the electrical cable at the bottom of the frame? It's the top of the starter. So this one's going to be kind of fun to get at. We're going to need to go in alongside the starter, but there's a fair amount of room to get your arm in there, so I guess we'll give that a shot next. I don't think I'm going to be able to film this one, but I'll set the camera back and let you watch my approach to get at it, and hopefully we can get it out of there. Okay, so if you look over the top of the spring and above the starter, you can see this plug reasonably well, except I'm not able to look at it at the same time that I'm monkeying with it. So you get the there. All right, I'm backing you up because that last time we kind of soaked everything with antifreeze. I'm half terrified to do this. And I can see some starting to leak out. I need to go get a screwdriver handle with a quarter drive on it. All right, so there's the passenger side drain plug. It's pulled, and we only wore maybe a cup or so of it that time. Just to recap what we've done so far, we've got the petcock opened and drained, the lower radiator hose off and drained, and both coolant jacket block plugs pulled and drained. Are we having fun yet? Spend more time drying off the phone and the cameras than doing any work. So, okay, let's see what's next. So the next thing it says to do is to reinstall both of those plugs finger tight and close the lower radiator petcock, and also reinstall the lower radiator hose temporarily. We'll get that done next. These two plugs that come out of the block, pretty rusty, cruddy looking. So I'm going to touch those up on the wire wheel before I reinstall them. That's better. Okay, so I got the two drain plugs reinstalled, I got the lower radiator hose back on, and I got the petcock closed up. Now they want to remove the thermostat housing, so let's do that next. Okay, we're going to follow the upper radiator hose all the way down. There's a clamp right there. We're going to remove that clamp and remove this hose. Underneath that is sort of what looks like a stamped steel thermostat cover. It is a bit rusty, though not horrible, and that's going to have to come off, so we'll do that next. Very tight. I don't know how good I'm going to be able to film this, but I'll go to shot. So I'm using an 8mm deep socket with a long wobbly extension to get down into these. Last thing I want to do is break one of these off. Serpentine belt and the hose are directly in the way for this third one. I'm gonna have to take you out of here for a minute. I can't work with all the camera and the light and all that crap. Be right back to you. I wound up taking off my serpentine belt, which you just take a braking bar and you put it in the serpentine belt spring-loaded adjuster, and you take the tension off, and then you just weave it out of there. And in fact, I'm going to get it out of here before I spill any antifreeze on it. You really don't want to get antifreeze on your belt, because it's really hard to get it to not squeal after that. So then it's a simple matter of breaking these three loose here. And thank you, Jesus, thank you, sweet Jesus, that none of them snapped off. You know, 20-year-old truck wouldn't be out of... But this water pump was off of here a couple years ago. So I was on my way to Florida, go to Bike Week with the motorcycle, and had the toy hauler on the back, and the water pump let go in Casa Grande, Arizona. Thankfully, I was at the gas station in Casa Grande, and there was a Ford dealership 6 miles away. I didn't have tools to do water pump and all that stuff on the side of the road, so I just took it over there and bit the bullet at the dealership, and wound up. I think I want to say it was $1,200. It was a lot, I thought, for water pump replacement, but when you're thousands of miles from home and your tools and all your, your support, what are you going to do? You're just stuck. You're screwed. So you just got to go and pay the money. Whoops, where went that one? Let's see if these are... Yeah. These are the steel bolt into an aluminum water pump housing, so there's bound to be some electrolysis and crap in those holes, so the bolts just, bind up and don't want to turn very good. Okay, so all three are out. There's the water pump housing, or thermostat housing, not water pump housing, thermostat housing. And it's rusty and cruddy. I have a brand new and nice aluminum one. So, thermostat, this probably was new when they did the water pump. It's stuck in there, I see. This thermostat. Whoops, there it went. Alright, there's thermostats out. So I need to make a correction. This is the thermostat that came out of the truck. This is the one that came that I ordered online. So you can see it's not the right thermostat. At least it doesn't appear to be. A little bit different looking. Same general size, but the rating is different on it. This one says 95 centigrade, and the other one says 89 slash 2B. No, I'm sorry, 89 centigrade. So the temp rating's different. This is not the right thermostat. So this is the one that came out. So I just bought a new one. They're not cheap, $40-some at O'Reilly. It's a F6TZ8575EA, and it looks just like the one that came out of the truck. So bear that in mind. What I said earlier in the video is not right. Different thermostat. The next part of this is we're going to reinstall the thermostat housing. I'm just going to use the old one, and with the old gasket and no thermostat. So that's what we're going to do next. So here we are, we're installing the old thermostat housing with the old gasket and no thermostat. He says don't worry if it leaks. Obviously we're not going to worry about that because this is all coming back off and all the new stuff's going on. So this is just for the flush procedure here. Okay. The next thing they want you to do is they want you to take this heater hose off. That's this one right here that is coming off of the passenger side of the engine. It's just to the right of the adjuster for the serpentine belt. So if you're facing the front of the vehicle, it would be just to the right of this adjuster, or toward the passenger side of this adjuster. It's kind of down between the battery and the AC pump, and down there's the adjuster, and it's this heater hose right here. So I got to work that off of there. I'm not going to be able to film it. It looks like I can barely even get my hand down in it. So I'm going to take that off next. Okay, there's that hose removed, and you can see where it came off of, right down in there. So they want this flush tee attached in here. I'm going to put it in permanently. I'm going to cut this hose and put it in right here so that I can use it in the future. I've had these on my vehicles many times over the years, and none of them have ever caused me any trouble. I think what I'll do is I'll leave these clamps loose. That way I can adjust, I can rotate, clock the hose where it fits the best. Clock this fitting, or the hose itself, to where everything fits properly. Loosen that up just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Wire wheel. Put this back on. Let's see. Now I think I can get on it a little easier. Okay. Now, let's take and move these clamps a little bit. Let's rotate them away from the power. There's a power or air conditioning line right here. I don't want these clamps riding up against it. And the blood is starting to flow. Okay, now that we've got the flush tee installed, you can see that the clamps are on and everything is looking good there. Now we just need to attach this to it, and they say to attach the black end to it. So like that, and then the hose goes on the other end, so just like that. Okay, so here we are. We're hooked up to the flush tee right there, and we got the degas bottle open. The next thing is to turn on the garden hose and run it until no more green comes out of the degas bottle. Okay, so let's recap. We've got the flushing tee installed into that heater hose. We got the garden hose on it. We reinstalled the old top radiator hose, and we reinstalled the serpentine belt. We reinstalled the top radiator hose to the thermostat housing that has just the old gasket and no thermostat. Now we're ready to turn on the water on the hose, fill the engine block, fill the radiator and the degas bottle, and let it overflow until there's no more green coming out. So I'll go turn the water on right now. So we're filling. You see the degas bottle is filling up. Here it comes. And I see a green tint to it. Okay, now I'm not catching this. The pool is over there. I just caught the pure antifreeze that was coming out of all of this to begin with. This other stuff is just the dregs of what's left. So all we're going to do is just let this garden hose run until everything is completely clear. Then we're going to start the engine with the garden hose running, just like you see us here, and we're going to let it run. And I'm gonna manipulate the heater controls. Not sure that's that necessary. I would expect it would say so in his procedure, but it doesn't. But to me, it seems to me you got to open up the heater core to get the antifreeze out of there too. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start the engine, and I'm going to manipulate the heater controls. I'm going to turn the heat on full blast with the dial all the way to the hottest, and hopefully that'll get the heater core cleared out as well. So we're flushing very nicely now. We're back flushing, and everything's looking good. Still seeing green, I think. no thermostat in, remember that. So we don't have to wait for the thermostat to open or do any of that. There's no thermostat in there. It's wide open. Still green. Very, very light, very slight. Procedure says it can take several minutes of this running the garden hose to get all the green out. Okay, I'd say that's looking pretty clear. I don't see much in that. Some air bubbles. But it looks pretty clear to me. I'm gonna go with that. Next instructions are to shut off the garden hose. Disconnect the garden hose. Open all of the drains again and let all this drain back out just like we had it before. So we have just clear water now, so no swimming pool this time. Open that up. We've gone ahead and drained that all back out. We did it with the radiator petcock, the lower radiator hose, and the two side plugs on the block. Those have been temporarily reinstalled, and the cap is on the flushing tee, and now we're ready to add distilled water. So they want us to add distilled water until this thing is completely full back up to the top of the degas bottle. This is second 2.5 gallon container. Third 2.5 gallon distilled water container. Looks like the degas bottle is topping off. Of course, the coolant filter isn't, it probably has the tap water in it still, the coolant filter. So we're going to rectify that any minute here. Okay, the degas bottle is full. And now we're going to start the engine and let this circulate. Instructions are to run the engine for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to monitor this level here and top off as needed. You see it's drawing down. that looks like it took about 7 gallons to me. So this is how my coolant filtration is set up. It comes out of the top of the water pump, comes in this hose, runs down through the filter, comes back to the degas bottle, and then to this bypass right here. Okay, so we just let it run for 3-4 minutes. It's lukewarm, not much. And now we're going to drain that all back out. Alright, so we just drained all the distilled out and then hooked everything back up. We're going to do that whole same exact procedure. Fill with distilled water and drain it all out again. Then everything, the plugs and all that stuff, the hoses and all that stuff goes back on permanently. My tap water here is very soft. I live in Washington State, and it's very soft water. We don't have a lot of minerals in it. We don't use water softeners or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do the double. They say if you live in a place where your water tastes funky and it's full of minerals, you probably want to do this flush here with distilled 3 times rather than 2. But I'm just going to do 2 because our water's fine here. It's very, very nice water. Mountain fresh water, very nice. Okay, so same thing. We're just filling her back up. This is number 3 of the second distilled flush. And degas bottle is coming up to full. When this one's in, we start the engine and run it for a few more minutes, and then drain it all back out. Fill it all the way to the top, he says. Starting the motor. Dropping. Okay, so I ran it for 4 or 5 minutes, lukewarm, drain it all out. Okay, so we just finished doing the drain on the second distilled water flush. So that's done, that's all drained out. Now I'm going to reinstall the new thermostat housing and the upper and lower hoses that I have that are new, and reinstall the drain plugs in the sides of the block permanently, tightened up nice and firmly, and then of course close the petcock on the lower radiator tank, and then we'll be ready to add the coolant. But right now I'm going to put this new thermostat in, and if you notice on this thermostat there's a little arrow on the front here, there's a little brass vent on the back here. You need to put the arrow pointing forward. That points towards the front of the truck, just so you know that. And then just put on the new thermostat housing and tighten it down. Just going to kind of rotate it in till it seats. Make sure the arrow is pointing forward, and it is. Little vent is to the back, and there we go. And I'll get the new housing on. This facing the right way. There we go. Like that. Just trying to gall. It's the steel and the aluminum. I don't want to cross thread it, so it's going to take my time until I get some couple of turns, nice easy turns on it. Alright, there's that. Now I need to go under and get that lower radiator hose off because I'm going to change that. Okay, so I changed the upper hose, lower hose, coolant filter, closed up the plugs on the sides of the block, and tightened everything down. Made sure that, and the radiator drain on the bottom, those are all closed. So now the instructions say add 4 gallons of 100% concentrate to the degas bottle. And then top it off with distilled water, and then we should be done. So there's my 4th gallon in. And I'm going to top it off with distilled water. So what I did with the kiddie pool full of antifreeze is I used my shop vac to suck it up into the shop vac, and then I transferred it into a plastic barrel that I have to take to recycle. It's a small plastic barrel, maybe 20 gallon, and it's only about 1/3 of the way full. 25 gallon, I'm not sure how many gallons in that barrel, but I'm going to transfer it actually out of the barrel into 5-gallon buckets because I don't want to give my barrel to the recycle people. So now it's a simple matter of topping this off with distilled, and then we'll have red coolant without the SCA. So appreciate it. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you want to change your truck over from the green coolant with the SCA to the red that doesn't require the SCA. And it's an extended life 8-year coolant, the brand I bought. So not much to it. It's just kind of a, just make sure there aren't any dogs or anything around, because you do spill a fair amount here and there. And hose it up, clean it up good, and get it hosed off so that animals can't get into it. Other than that, I think you get the rest of this. So take care. Thanks for watching.